Hello everyone, welcome back to Thinksakshya, where every clue begins with learning. I am Nandini Rathi, your forensic science educator at Thinksakshya, and here we are with the part 3 of forensic document examination. In this part, we will be learning about preliminary examination of question documents and some of the tools which we use. If you haven't watched previous videos where we have discussed the basics of a question document, under which we have studied document definition, legal definitions of a document, types of documents, the process, how and when it is done, what type of evidences are recovered from crime scene. So go and watch previous videos and then come forward to the third part. Now, let's begin. First of all, for the preliminary examination of document, we must first of all know that a document which is under question is disputed document and it is very critical. So there is a need of proper scientific investigation for this purpose, and a non-scientific person cannot achieve it properly and authentically. So what we need here is a scientific expert who is trained in a particular field of document examination. For example, if we are given a handwriting sample, two types of samples are there. A non-scientific person would not be able to recognize the difference between the two samples, while a scientific person will be able to know about it. Signature or the writing are not only things that are compared in a document, but we also compare ink, pen, typed matter, printed matter, watermark, and many more things. In a document, there are various things that accumulate and form a document. If you have to write something, first of all, we will use paper. Secondly, we will use a pen. In pen, there will be ink. Also, if we are printing any document or getting it photocopied, so it might be a printed matter. The type of printed matters are different because we have various type of printers. The type of inks are different. We have red pen ink, we have blue ink, black ink, and even in black ink there are variations of color or the variety or the composition of the inks. We will be studying all these topics individually and then into another videos, because these are also an individual topics which are to be covered, like ink, what is its type and how it is formed, what is the composition of a ink, and how it impacts the examination. Same for the pen, same for the typed matter. For printers, there are various type of printers. So these all things we will be studying in different individual videos. Each and every element needs to be studied and examined thoroughly. For a document to be totally and completely verified, each and every element has to be studied very minutely and very thoroughly. Like we have discussed, pen, ink, typed matter, signature, handwriting, everything has to be studied for a document to be examined properly. Points to consider during preliminary examination. Now there are few points that we have to look for in a paper. Let's go through it. First of all, if the paper was of unusual size, was it cut, trimmed at any margin? Now what is it telling about is, we have to first of all check that a paper is of unusual size or not. Like standard sizes we have A3, A4, A5, but is the paper of unusual size other than these paper, or was it cut or trimmed at any ends of the paper? Second, times of fold in a paper and the sequence of fold. Now we have to also check, is the paper folded, or what it was a sequence of paper folding. Like in a paper, if it is folded, we have creases and the patterns of folding also. We can categorize it was folded forward or it was folded backwards through studying the crease on the paper. So the times of folds and the sequence of folds we need to see. Third, any marks of artificial aging and has a paper been toned, wetted, or mutilated. Have you ever seen a currency note being wet or accidentally got wet in your pockets when it was washed? Or sometimes we receive a currency note from a shopkeeper or someone which is in a very bad condition, like it may stone from somewhere, it might be wetted, it might be mutilated means completely damaged, like there's nothing left on the paper, kind of a situation. So we have to see if the paper is artificially aged, like it is made to look like it is old but it is not actually old. Like nowadays what people are doing to create vintage paper is spreading coffee paste or coffee water on a paper to look it, to make it aesthetic or something like that. So it is an example of artificial aging. So we have to check for these points also. Fourth is the indentation marks on front and embossing on the back. We have discussed by now what are indentation marks and how it is examined in previous video. If you haven't watched, please go and watch it. It will clear out your basics and you will be understanding these topics more clearly. Someone applies a lot of pressure while writing. So what happens is it gets embossed or indented on the paper beneath it. So it gets marks and we can also check those marks, like to see what was written above the paper on it. Next is the document written or typed before or after the paper was folded. Like I wrote anything on a paper before it was folded or after it was folded. So these are the points which only a scientific person can cover or can analyze. A non-scientific person would not give such attention to these points. How many types of ink or pens are used? So how many types of inks or pen are used to write a document? Was the whole document written using one ink or any switch was made in between? Physical and chemical alterations such as erasing, obliteration, substitution, alteration. In a previous video, I gave you an example of an altered check where $1,000 check was converted into a $9,000 check. So that was an example of alteration that was made using two types of ink. And how we recognize the ink? Using infrared light. This all things of examination and tools used we will be further discussing. For now, what we have to check is, was there any erasure made, was it obliterated, any substitution that was made, or any alteration that happened in a document. Now, unnatural spacing. We also have to see if there was any unnatural spacing between a document. For example, in a document I usually write with these spacing. But now what happened is we have to check, was anything written in between? The space changed, right? Between the two lines the space changed, or over here I write something, this changed the spacing of between the lines in a document. So this is unnatural spacing. We have to also check for this. Is the document written by a single person in continuity, or there was any handwriting shift or the pen shift that was found? We have to check everything. Getting my point? This is how detailed we have to go in a document examination. Or any unusual feature that you might suspect in a document, you have to examine that also. Unusual feature can be anything on a paper that you suspect through your physical examination or through your eyes, nothing to do with microscopes and everything, just physically you are seeing it physically. Is there any unusual feature which you can find? You have to examine that also. Forensic science is everything about your intuition, your common sense, and just being practical. It is all about being practical and thinking, opening your mind. What else? What else? Every time there should be a question mark. What else? What if? This is forensic science all about. Now, according to section 45 of Indian Evidence Act, let's see what does it says. It allows experts to help in comparing handwriting and other types of evidences. It means that when a document is being examined in a legal case, every part of it must be carefully studied. Sometimes this detailed analysis requires the opinion of a skilled specialist to understand aspects such as handwriting, signatures, or unusual markings. This is what I told you in the very first slide, that we need a very skilled person for this document examination, because if it is not done by a skilled purpose, it is not acceptable in court. Because how would anybody or the court rely on me, a person like me who is non scientific, or somebody else who is non scientific, to give such a verdict about something, some case, which decides whom to punish and whom to release? A judge cannot trust anybody like this. So a person has to be specially skilled in particular field. And during the examination, each and every aspect has to be examined of a document. Now, according to section 73 of Indian Evidence Act, it allows the court to ask someone to write certain words or numbers. This helps the court compare the writing with the disputed document or to check for authenticity. Now, what it says is that a person who is investigating or someone who is in charge of document examination is allowed to ask the witness or the suspect to give an handwriting sample, so that the person can analyze between the collected sample from the crime scene and the samples from the witness or the suspect, so as to make the comparison between the both. Are these connected, or who is lying and whom is not? This is what section 73 of Indian Evidence Act says about. Now, what are the tools used in document examination? There are various type of tools which are used for the document examination. Let's go through them all. First of all, basic measuring tools. Basic measuring tools such as ruler or a caliper, protractor, compass, or anything that measures a document or the spaces between the handwriting or anything in a document. Secondly, we come to magnification, such as microscope or magnifier glasses, which are handheld. Then the light source, UV light, infrared lights, UV light box can be there, and various special instruments. For example, we use ESDA and VSC. Photography and computers can be used in question document examination. First, coming to basic measuring tools. In basic measuring tools, first of all, are the metric rulers, are basic scales which we use in regular life. Then comes the calipers. Calipers. This is a caliper, also known as vernier caliper. It has two parts, two jaws, we can say. And if this is my paper, I will be holding this so that the two jaws stuck between it, and we can measure the thickness of the paper. This is, for example, we can measure the thickness of the paper using vernier caliper. Also, we can measure the distance between the two letters or two words in a document using vernier caliper. An assortment of glass alignment plates, which helps in measuring angles, height, or width of the paper or the letters or anything which is present on a document. It is a glass slab which has grids or markings on it, on which we place a paper and we analyze its height, width, the angles, various things. Other measuring tool is a graticule or a reticule. It is used for the measurement and magnification. This It is gratitude. It is a eyepiece kind of a thing which is placed on the eye and under the screen, under this part. There is a measuring scale that is made which has measurements such as centimeter, and as well as there are angles which are formed. It is kind of a small microscope, handheld microscope basically. So it is used for measurement and magnification, which is magnifier eyepiece containing measuring scale for precise measurements. Now, those were the basic measuring tools. Coming to magnification. First of all, the basic magnifier is a handheld magnifier which can zoom up to 2x to 10x power of magnification. Next is the microscope. There are different types of microscope present, such as light microscope, fluorescence microscope, stereo microscope. These three are the most common microscopes which are used in forensic document examination. Light microscope, the basic one. Then coming to fluorescence, it can give fluorescence light and through which we can study the different reflecting patterns of the paper, the writing on the paper. Third is the stereo microscope. Now, the stereo microscope has the main importance and it is widely used in document examination. A stereo microscope has magnification up to 10x to 50x, and it has two eyepieces which helps us better focus, and it also has a third viewing tube. Two eyepieces are there and it also has a third viewing tube, as we can see here. On this we can place our camera on top and it will record what is beneath or what is on the slide, and we can connect it with a computer or a monitor which will show us a very enlarged picture of the document. So with that we can analyze very minute details which are present. So this is how it helps. It also forms a low magnified 3D view which allows FTE to examine features like pressure patterns, erased and indented writing, any overlapping if present, sequence of writing, and the strokes. The terminal stroke and starting strokes are also analyzed using stereo microscope. Now, the light sources. There are three types of light sources. First is transmitted light, then comes the infrared lights and the ultraviolet light. How a light is transmitted? If I hold a paper like this and put a torch behind it, it will illuminate the paper. Yes, we can see some light coming through the paper. So that is transmitted light. It is used for document examination. Then comes infrared lights and ultraviolet lights. There are two types of ultraviolet light, long wave and short wave. Both show different characters of a ink or pen or anything which is present or used to write on a paper. So these type of lights are used to see the variation between the inks and anything that is present on a document. We also use the tool known as light box, on which there is a box kind of a thing, this one, on which over here we place a paper and from beneath it the ultraviolet rays will come. A light box which has color corrected fluorescence type light bulb. The document is laid upon the box and light from rear makes it possible to see details which are not visible otherwise. It makes us see details which we cannot see through our naked eyes or under normal light conditions. Like we can see here, like we can see over here. It is not very clear in this picture, but using of ultraviolet light we have revealed what was written. It was not visible earlier. But under the ultraviolet light it became visible. So this is how ultraviolet light, transmitted light and the infrared lights help in identifying the features which are not visible to our naked eyes. This was it for today's video. Other special instruments and photography will be studying in the next video. If you have any doubts, please feel free to ask them down in comments. I will be replying to them and solving all your doubts. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.